Well, it's great to have you tune in again. I hope that you continue to enjoy these videos that I'm doing, and I'm sure having a fun time doing it. I'm trying to keep them at about 10 minutes so that you all don't get bored and you just keep coming back. So today, what I'd like to talk about is something that probably not many people would talk about who do this kind of work or who are doing things with psychic expansion. And the issues are diet, rest, and exercise. And so I'm going to share with you my own personal experience, which has been that these three elements have become vitally, vitally important to me to maintain my mental, emotional, and physical well-being over the years of doing this kind of work. I think it's pretty obvious to you that alcohol and doing psychic work isn't a great mix. I can tell you a lot of stories about, being much younger and groups of friends getting together and maybe doing some drinking and doing some psychic work. And, really, it's not a great idea. Again, if you think about alcohol in the body, it creates, alcohol is really a lower vibration. And when we are looking to work with our own psychic ability, we certainly want our vibration to be as high as, it can be. I know I mentioned in one of the videos before that for 1 year, I didn't let anyone into my home. The reason being that when people come in and out of our homes, they leave energy behind. It's just that simple. And I wanted like a clear canvas to be able to do my own meditation, my own practices that I was doing at that time to again enhance and bring my own psychic ability to a higher level. Now, here's the funny story. So after really almost isolating myself for a long time, I went into New York City, and as many of you may know, that one of the ways to get into the city is through the Port Authority bus terminal. And I always tell this story that because I hadn't been out in the world very much, I walked into that terminal and, I immediately wanted some drugs and, I wanted, to rob someone. I'm being facetious. But there, the vibration of the people in there was so, overwhelming and profound for me. And, that's kind of a good story because I think that particularly psychic sensitive people don't realize that their reaction in certain situations is based upon psychic information. I know myself, I've certainly walked away from situations and maybe being a little bit self-critical about my behavior in that situation, only to come back and say to myself, no, wait a minute, some of that energy certainly had to be in the environment that I was in. I need to acknowledge that if I'm going to continue to embrace this psychic part of who I am, this invisible vibration, this invisible energy that's literally affecting me on, a regular basis. So again, getting back to this idea of diet, rest, and exercise, one of the issues that I found very early on was the need to drink a lot of water. Doing psychic work over a period of time completely depleted me of the water in my body. And so even today, I have 3 bottles of water on my desk to make sure that I drink enough water to support my physical vehicle as I'm working through this day and the activity and anything that comes this way. I don't think I need to say more about rest. Rest is really vital for all of us. I don't care what you're doing. It just makes for a better day if we're not sleep deprived and a little bit cranky and a little bit on edge. And so that's something to keep in mind also. One of the things that I also find out again, this is my experience and opinion, right? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, so you may have other ideas or experiences with this. But what I find is that we literally eat food, which generates energy, which we need to expel out of the body. The problem is that because of the sedentary work that we can do in either meditation or our psychic work, whatever that is, we're not really expending the calories. It's just that simple. I remember, this was probably about 30 years ago, I was teaching a very small group of people, the tarot. And I was so amazed that over the course of the period of the class that they were putting on weight. And I certainly understood because they were sitting, they were studying, they were meditating more, but they really weren't taking care of the body and, taking a walk down the street or whatever. This is also kind of a funny thing, that the whole psychic experience can be really an emotional one. I had a group of friends, and whenever we got together to do exchanges or do any work together, the joke was, who's bringing the chocolate cake? Because we all became so, emotional, that we wanted to, sort of, give ourselves some kind of a reward through, the chocolate cake. If you know what Entenmann's chocolate cake is, I still walk through the grocery store and with fond memories of those people who, literally all of those people have passed now, but I would have been doing that work with. So these are some things to really be serious about, to think about, what am I eating? Is it the best things to support my work? I found over the years that to begin my work, I needed to eat at least an hour before I began any work. I certainly could eat, relatively quickly after I was done. But, food, digestion, all of the physiological things that go on as a regular part of our life and living, really need to, be paid attention to. So I bring that to you today. I want to go back really, and again, this is something that I had to learn, and that was that I had to learn how to work with my emotions and my emotional response to psychic information, working with people, being in psychic energy, all of those pieces. I really had a really long period of self-evaluation on that front to say, okay, I was with 5 or 10 people yesterday. I used to see 10 people in a day. And the next day I would be like, okay, I'm really down. I'm really kind of blue. To learn that, being in psychic energy for me for that extended period of time sort of brought me to a high. Then the next day I might have maybe even a comparable and equally same amount of kind of down energy. So again, that was something that I had to learn to deal with. I'm sure you're wondering, what did I do? One of those pieces was I had to learn what was emotionally appropriate for me in working with other people, meaning, could I get emotionally involved? Could I feel a range of emotion for them, to the point that it actually was influencing and affecting my well-being? So, that's really just something that is a cause for pause. It's a reason for some evaluation about, how am I feeling? What is this doing to me? And trust me, extended periods of psychic energy is a real high. It really is. I've never done big drugs. And what I hear, I would say to you that you can get just about as high, doing psychic energy work in that way. But, I've always been concerned about what are we doing for ourselves to take care of ourselves on the other side of it. I often talk about people who've come to retreats that I've worked with who are caregivers, and who one way energy, they're always caring, giving, but they really haven't learned how to take care of themselves. That's a problem. It's a problem. So I'm an advocate of massage, of acupuncture, holotropic breathwork, any of the breathwork modalities. I'm a fan of all of those. And I certainly encourage anyone to be very careful in their scheduling of their lives to make sure that they are taking care of themselves in a productive way. That's really, an important step of learning to control not only yourself, but psychic energy, right? So the more you can control your reaction and your understanding and knowledge of psychic energy and how to work with it, think of the impact of that when you're working beyond the realm of the earth plane. Let's talk about creating through thoughts, creating intentions. How do we build that energy? How do we create that energy? How do we know that energy is built enough that we should be expecting that which we are working toward to be created and manifest in our lives? And those are all spiritual steps. Those are really important ones. Again, I would say to you, ultimately, that's what we have the psychic tools for. It's, to be able to really create in the invisible world as it comes back and manifests in the physical world. So Sometimes I move quickly through these topics. And I'm going to tell you, I do it because I'm really conscious of the amount of time that I have with you. But I could probably, on any one of the things that I've just talked about, I could probably do, an hour, really talking to each one of those points, including telling you stories of my life experience and, what I've learned and what I've seen, over the years, because I've really done a lot. But I really have to say to you that whole piece about, how am I feeling emotionally? What's going on and how's that happening? Interestingly enough, this morning I was on the telephone with a psychic peer, and we both were raised in very fundamental religious environments, and that we both still at this juncture, many years later, still find ourselves coming up against that religious upbringing. And the voice that comes forward from that is one that, doing psychic work is not of God, and it's sinful and all of those pieces. I don't believe that. I really don't believe it, but that doesn't mean it isn't in my subconscious, and that ultimately comes forward too. When I think, there were a lot of years way back when my mother and father were alive, when, I really never talked to them about the work that I do. It would have really been, a real problem, especially for my mother. So here's another one of those emotional pieces to sort of, how do we do this, check in with ourselves after we've participated in, whether it be our meditation, whether it be that we're, really starting to develop our psychic piece and we're working with other people. How do we check in? How do we talk to ourselves? Because ultimately, you need to take care of your physical body. We all need to do that. And so it really becomes of great importance. I hope you'll think about this. I hope you'll think about, even if you're just meditating, not meaning just not in addition to other spiritual practices. If you happen to be a health, healing practitioner of any sort, you especially I'm talking to, because anybody who's doing that kind of work is really, really giving a lot of energy flow through their body and out to another person. And that's something that we need to be aware of, because we need to repair that part of our body or repair those pieces of energy so that we ultimately continue to remain healthy and well. It's just an important piece. I hope you don't feel like this is kind of negative, but I really think that what I'm trying to do in these videos is a whole overview of, everything that needs to be considered, as we work through these ideas. And I'm doing these talks on being psychic. It's just really an important piece of what we do. So I think I'm at my time for today. So it was great talking to you. Again, please subscribe if it feels like something you want to do. And I hope wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day. And thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.